Hello everybody, my name is Brian and I'm here to present about JIC. What does JIC stand for? It stands for Journey in My Career. Now, before I start presenting, remember we have two important vocabularies to talk about. First is journey, not the end game, not the result, but basically the whole duration from point A to point B. So that whole duration you must enjoy. So remember, enjoy the journey. Second vocabulary is challenge. Remember, when you come to JIC, it's going to be difficult for you, not just studies, but also in life in general. So remember to take the challenge and enjoy the journey. Before we get into the presentation about our programs in Main and Premium, please first watch these two videos. Enjoy! I hope you enjoyed the videos. Short clips, don't worry, there's more to come. Anyways, let's begin with JIC Main Campus. So in summary, who should be going to JIC Main Campus? Mainly for those students who wants to focus, who wants to be guided, or basically they have a target for going abroad, because once you come to Main Campus, this is for the students who are serious in studying English. So what are the programs in JIC Main Campus? First, we have IB ESL, PS ESL, TOEIC ESL, and IELTS. Don't worry, I'll talk about them each. So let us start with IB ESL. Before I go, please remember for IB, PS, and TOEIC, we have light and standard. What's the difference? First and foremost, you have to look at the one-on-one classes. Light means you will have 4 one-on-one classes, while for standard, you have 6 one-on-one classes. But for all of the programs in Main Campus, we have 2 group classes. So going back to IB, what does IB stand for? IB stands for Intensive Basic ESL. What does this mean? It means this is great for beginners, those who are low beginners, no confidence, and again, wants to be guided. What does it mean too when it comes to IB students is that we are offering output curriculums. What does this mean? It means that in at least 2 of the subjects, you will be recording yourself. Why do you have to record yourself? Because basically when it comes to scores, please remember, it's basically data or statistics. For example, let me give you an example. Let's say you get 5 out of 10, and then after 4 weeks, you get 6 out of 10. Most people don't understand that additional point. Usually the complaint is, they go to the office, they'll say, teacher, I feel I didn't improve. Even if we show them graphs, even if they have improved in statistics, let's say they improved 1 point or 2 points, or so be it, any types of point systems, they will not believe themselves because, again, it's more of an innate thing. But when it comes to output, we will be asking them to record themselves from day one. So we have a subject called Read Aloud. This is just one subject, right? And in this subject, they have to start reading something. It is recorded, right? And then right there and then the teacher will stop. They will listen to the recording, and then they will be checking the pronunciation, the grammar, or even vocabularies or anything that needs to be checked. And then, of course, right after that, they fix it right there and then they go to understanding the vocabularies and then question and answer. So comprehension for beginners. But my point here is, because it is recorded from day one, for imagine it being for 4 weeks, 8 weeks, or 12 weeks, they can already listen to themselves, and then they can already say, oh yes, day one, I was slow. After 4 weeks or 8 weeks, I am much faster. My pronunciation is better, and I even understand what I'm saying. This is Read Aloud. Another subject would be our speech building. Every week you have a certain speech or topic in which you will have to talk about. And it's not about ability to, be very good at it, because of course you're beginners. So let's say on the first week we will ask you about your family. You'll say, I have my father, mother, siblings. Finished. The process here is for us to extend your saying or what you're saying, and then maybe after only 1 week or 2 weeks, you're not just going to be saying father, mother, sibling. You'll talk about their jobs, their personality, their favorites, and then all of a sudden you're talking about your family for more than 30 seconds. And again, remember, it is recorded. So that is IB. Let's go to PS now. PS ESL. What does PS ESL mean? Power Speaking ESL. So from the word itself, the students will be empowering their speaking abilities. So this is for more students who are, let's say, a little bit more confident, who have a little bit of experience in English and already does not need to be guided because, again, they have a little bit of knowledge in English. In PS ESL, of course, we have Light and Standard. Reminding you guys, Light has 4 one-on-one classes, while Standard has 6 one-on-one classes, and again, 2 group classes. Now, the difference is for Power Speaking is we concentrate on 2 things. First is content, because most of the times students, they don't really know what to say. They have the idea, but they don't know how to deliver it. So we have to teach them in classes, of course, of how to give the different content. So they'll be brainstorming. We have this in a subject called Discussion and Debates. So they'll have discussions from, let's say, Mondays to Thursdays, and then on Fridays, they'll have a debate, which is extremely difficult, but they'll be able to do it with the teacher. So again, going back to the point, we will give them the content. We will give them the idea because it's basically discussed in class. And then after that, we have another class called Presentation Toolbox, in which we will organize their content. So remember, of course, when we have ideas, we have lots of ideas in our mind, but we don't really know how to deliver it properly. So what happens there is in this class, they'll remember, or rather learn how to organize their thoughts. So they have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that way, it will empower their speaking. So that is PS. But I forgot to mention, guys, for IB, this is Sparta. For PS, it's semi-Sparta. Meaning to say that the student does not necessarily have to have night classes as compared to those in IB, in which they have at least 2 hours of self-study and 30 minutes for the vocabulary test. But what does it mean by saying semi-Sparta? It means that they don't have to do it, it's optional. However, if they want to, they just come to the office, apply for it, and then we will be monitoring them for 2 weeks. And last amongst our ESL programs is our TOEIC program. Again, for TOEIC, we have Light and Standard. Again, Light means 4 one-on-one classes, and Standard means 6 one-on-one classes with 2 group classes each. However, when it comes to TOEIC, what we understood and what we have actually learned is that they need foundational ESL. Thus, we will give them half for TOEIC, 2 classes, and the other half is still ESL for them to learn the foundation, because we learned if you mix TOEIC and ESL, it is faster for them to get a higher score. However, for our 2 subjects for TOEIC, we will have listening comprehension and reading comprehension. So they'll learn the different strategies. Of course, they will learn the test. They'll have the test in their class together with the ESL subjects, all right? And together, they'll get a good score very quick. Now let's talk about IELTS, my favorite program. Now, please remember, when it comes to IELTS, JIC is the pioneer, simply because we were the first school to start teaching IELTS, not just Baguio, but in the Philippines. So that's my feature number 1. But if you look at the presentation, please look, we do not have light IELTS. We don't have this. It's either standard or guarantee. Both you will need 6 one-on-one classes with 2 group classes. What's the difference? For IELTS standard, of course, you can take it 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. That's up to you, depending on the score that you need or want. But for guarantee, we're going to be asking you to stay with us for 12 weeks minimum, or exactly 12 weeks for you to get an assurance that you'll get your score. But anyways, let's talk about the features of IELTS. First in feature is we have the 2-2-1-1 system. What is this famous 2-2-1-1 system? Simply put it, first is the subjects. We will be giving you 2 writing, 2 speaking, 1 listening, and 1 reading. So why do this? I like to say this most often than not is that we are Asians, and then for Asians, frankly, we lack active skills, which is our writing and speaking. We struggle with this because frankly, maybe we would know what to say or write, but we don't have the proper ideas or even organization. So we are having difficulties in our speaking and writing. You know this. And then of course, why only 1 listening and 1 reading? Again, remember the stereotypes when it comes to Asians. We are very logical. We're good in math. So that's analysis. When it comes to the listening and reading, we actually pretended it's math. So we are able to analyze it, get the score, get the answer, and we actually improve faster. So that's why we have 2-2-1-1 system. Next is number 2 is that we are customizable. Our curriculum is customizable. What does that mean? Now, if you look at my presentation, we have 2 speaking, 2 writing, 1 listening, and reading. It becomes customizable because after a test, a mock test, all right, a monthly test, let's say you are very good in reading, right? Because again, listening and reading is something that we'll improve on, but this is just an example. So let's say you improve your reading, you get a 6.0, you get your gold score. What can you do? You can remove it, and if you look at example, you can add it to another class that is your weakness. In this example, writing. So just again example, you can have 3 writings, 2 speakings, and 1 listening. This way we can focus on your weaknesses, push you, motivate you until you get your score quicker and faster. But again, this is an example. So you can have speaking or more classes in speaking, more classes in writing, even listening or reading, that is okay. We are capable in teaching you, and the teachers won't overlap with each other. So for example, for writing, if we have 3 writings, don't worry, the teacher will not be teaching you the exact same thing. It is within JIC's power for them to actually know what to teach you, and it's not going to overlap in terms of things that they're teaching you, so you will improve faster. Feature number 3. For feature number 3 is we actually have weekly tests. So the weekly test is done every Saturday, except for monthly test, in which the listening, reading, and writing is done on the Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 12. Why are we doing this? Because we want to basically mimic the real test. And then for the speaking, it's done on a Friday in your class. So we're mimicking the real test so that when your student takes the real test, it is basically the same. They already know what to do. They know what to do with the forms. And as a joke, it's in a way is they can basically know when to go to the bathroom. Because in the real test, you cannot go to the bathroom in certain times, but there is a certain strategy. We will teach them that too, in which they'll be able to know what to do. So again, they get the listening, the reading, writing on a Saturday, while the speaking is done on a Friday. Next is we have the bi-monthly consultation. What will happen here is me, myself, and other Niners, or basically IELTS specialists, will be consulting your students every 2 weeks. What are we consulting? We're giving them feedbacks. We will check their scores, we'll check their test, we'll get the feedbacks from your teachers, and then we will consult with your students every 2 weeks so that we can check if there's any issues, if they have troubles in studying, and we'll be giving them evaluations, feedbacks, recommendations, advices, anything that your student needs. Lastly, let's talk about our IELTS 7.0 program. IELTS 7.0 program first started in JIC. The other schools are basically copying us. So if you look at the presentation, if you have these scores, the required scores, we will promise them from 5.5 up to a 7.0. So if I'm going to be very frank with you, I've been teaching here since 2010 and we've only failed 1 time. But fortunately for this lady, after 1 month, she was able to get her score. So we're not gonna change anything because it works. So what are you waiting for? Take your IELTS or ESL classes here in JIC. Next on my program or my presentation, we'll be talking about JIC Premium. Now let's talk about JIC Premium Campus. Before I begin with the programs, let me give you a summary of the type of students who are recommended to come here. Basically for students who wants to refresh or have a variety, or basically wants to be in an environment like this, where it's pristine, tranquil and quiet, then you should come to the Premium Campus. In the Premium Campus, we have 7 programs. We have ESL Starter 7, TEP, Working Holiday. We have Speaking Master, Business Master, Business Focus, and Active Seniors. So let me tell you each of the programs so that you'll have a better detail of what they are. Now in JIC Premium Campus, before we begin with the programs, we have to talk about the classes. We have our one-on-one classes, our regular group class, and our evening classes. What's the difference between the 2 group classes is simple. For the regular group class, we basically have academic group classes, the ones that you are usually having. But for the evening classes, this is the non-academic, the less stressful ones, for example, sketching or maybe even Zumba, these type of classes, and they're optional and free. Now let's talk about our programs. To begin with, we have our ESL Starter 7. So from the word 7, that means we have 7 classes. The 7 classes are 4 one-on-one classes, 1 regular group class, and 2 evening classes for a total of 7. However, what is ESL Starter 7? This is basically an ESL program for low beginners or zero English students. It was created for them so that they will be able to learn English at their own pace and for their level. What are these 4 one-on-one classes? We have 2 speaking, 1 reading, and 1 writing. Now for the listening, this is in our group class, which is basically our pronunciation /and listening group class. And then of course, as mentioned, for the 2 evening classes, the students will be able to choose from a variety of different evening classes. So that is our ESL Starter 7. Moving on, now we have our TEP. For TEP, we have TEP 8, TEP 9, and TEP 10. Remember, these numbers, 8, 9, and 10, is the number of classes that you'll be getting. So what is TEP? TEP stands for Theme English Program. So if you think about it, they are given different types of themes, all right? Basically topics. I will go that into in a few. Now, I wanted to talk more about the numbers just for you to be reminded. So for TEP 8, we have 3 one-on-one classes, 3 regular group classes, and additional 2 evening classes. TEP 9, 4 one-on-one classes, 3 group classes, and again, 2 evening classes. And for TEP 10, for those who wants to have lots of classes, we will give you 5 one-on-one classes, 3 group classes, and 2 evening group classes. So that is TEP 8, TEP 9, and TEP 10. Now, let's dig deeper into what TEP is. Now, as mentioned, in the one-on-one classes, we will be giving you 2 TEP classes or Theme English programs in which the students will be able to choose from 25 different programs, or rather themes. These are 25, but JIC will be creating more in the future. Now, if you look at the books, you'll notice that there's a number 1. The reason behind that is because this is for low beginners or level 1. Each of the books has 3 different levels, so they won't get bored with just 1 level or 1 book. And of course, as mentioned, it starts from low beginner, high beginner, to low intermediate. Now, if you ask me, from our observation, the famous one at the moment is tourism and university studies. Most likely because the students wants to learn English because they're either going to study abroad or wants to travel abroad. So that is our TEP. Next, we have our Working Holiday 8. So it's WH8 because we have 8 classes. We have 3 one-on-one classes, 3 regular group classes, and 2 evening classes. So what is Working Holiday Program? From the word itself, or derived from Working Holiday Visa. Mainly for students who wants to go abroad, maybe because they want to work or they want to go on a holiday. It's basically up to them. But in the Working Holiday Program, we will give 2 special one-on-one classes. the working holiday classes. For the first subjects, they will learn how to create resumes, cover letters, more importantly, how to pass the job interview. Because we know once we have a job interview, even if it's done in your own language, you get nervous. You might not even know what to say. Imagine if you're doing it in English, right? In front of an English person in which they'll be giving you an English interview. So we want them to be ready for this type of situation. So you're gonna go into the interview with your cover letter, with your resume, and have the ability to pass the job interview. So that's one of the subjects. The second subject is about practicality. We want them to be ready once they go abroad because, of course, they need information. So what kind of information do we give them? One is the different Englishes. Yes, I said Englishes. Because in the English world, there are different countries like the United Kingdom, United States, Australia, New Zealand, and many more in which they use the words which are in English, but they sometimes have different meanings or, of course, different accents. So we want to teach them this so that they won't be confused. Another thing in terms of practicality is once they go abroad, we want to help them in, simple information like how to find an accommodation, how to find jobs, how to open a bank, or basically these kind of things that will help them once they go abroad. Now, let's talk about our master classes, starting with our Speaking Master 8. So again, from the word 8, that means we have 8 classes, but a bit different. In this case, we have 6 one-on-one classes, no regular academic group classes, plus 2 optional evening classes. So why is this? Simply because it's a speaking master class in which we want them to concentrate in speaking and have 6 one-on-one classes in which all of those 6 will be basically speaking classes. But remember, this is a master class, so I'm going to be talking to you about the features in a few. After that, we have our Business Master 8. So again, it's a master class. What type of classes do we have here? We have 3 one-on-one classes, 2 regular academic group classes, and 2 evening classes. The difference here is the 3 one-on-one classes are all business classes. Now, yes, there are 4 macro skills. We have listening, reading, writing, and speaking. However, we will give them 3 depending on their initial test. So from the initial test, we will get their weaknesses and then give them that as their one-on-one classes. However, the speaking class or business speaking class is mandatory, so that is already there. The other 2 will depend on your weakness. Now, because you're here in JIC, after 2 weeks, don't worry. If you want to change your classes, you can do so. All you have to do is go to the head teacher. For example, from listening and reading, for example, are your classes. If you want writing, you can remove one and then change it with writing. And you can do this every 2 weeks. Now, in terms of the group classes, I did mention that there are 3, but this is how we do it. 2 of them are business classes, and 1 of them is our general ESL class. So 2, we have business group class correspondence, and the other one is presentation, all right? In correspondence, they'll basically learn how to write in different situations, for example, letters, and then the teacher will give them instructions on how to do it. And it's different every single day. For presentation, you will be giving a business presentation every week, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then again, in terms of the evening classes, they can choose from the different type of varieties that we have. Now, let's focus on the word master because these are master classes. What are the features? I have 3 of them. First is the speech clinic or Zoom clinic. So every 2 weeks in their one-on-one classes, they will have to give a speech clinic or a Zoom clinic. Speech clinic for our speaking masters and Zoom clinic for our business master classes or students rather. So it's very simple. They basically record it in terms of the speech and then they will listen to it together with the teacher with immediate feedbacks so that they can work on it. The beauty about this is that they'll be able to get the feedbacks right there and then, and they can check every 2 weeks to see how much they have improved. For Zoom Clinic, it's the same thing, but it is done online because we have learned that for business, you have to be savvy when it comes to technology. So from the word Zoom, you can use Zoom if you want, or Meetings, or Team Microsoft is new. They can choose any that they want. Second feature is the business presentation or speaking presentation. So for speaking masters, they have to give a presentation every 2 weeks. For business presentation, same thing, but with business topics. Again, they have to give it and deliver it every 2 weeks. What we like doing is we want to believe that they will become more confident as time goes by. So we can start them with only maybe one panel who will be watching them, and then maybe we can bring in 3 teachers, small group classes, and eventually, if they're very confident, they can do it in the cafeteria or one of our multifunctional rooms in front of many people. And the last feature is the consultation. We will be having a bi-monthly consultation done by Sir Daniel. He's our chief, by the way, here in Premium Campus. So if you are curious about Sir Daniel, click the link and then you'll have more information about him. Going back to the consultation, Sir Daniel will be meeting you every 2 weeks for all the master students, in which you'll be talking about your performances, your academics, analysis, in which he will be giving you his feedback and evaluations. So those are master features. Now let's talk about our short programs. First off, our business focus. We have Business Focus 3 and Business Focus 4. This means the student will only have 3 classes or 4 classes in their 101. There's no group class in evening or regular. But why did we do this? Because we were thinking about the business professionals who might be busy. So they will only want 3 or 4 101 classes. They can stay here in JIC Premium, enjoy the facilities while working. The advantage of them is, even before coming here, if they apply for a Business Focus 3 or 4, they're able to choose their schedules. So for example, if they want to work in the afternoon, then they can have classes in the morning, or vice versa. Work at night and then have classes in the morning. We can have classes until 6 o'clock. And lastly, we have Active Senior 3 and 4. So just like our Business Focus, they can do the same thing, meaning to say that they'll only have 3 or 4 101 classes. So for example, let's say they want to play golf in the morning. They can do so and then study in the afternoon. Now, this is meant for students who are 40 and above. So don't worry about their ages, because Active Senior, as mentioned, is for 40 and above. So ladies and gents, that is our 7 programs here in JIC Premium Campus. Now let's talk about JIC's challenges. First up is our speaking challenge. So speaking challenge was created for students to challenge themselves to speak in English only for 2 weeks first, and if they want to proceed to Pro Challenger, that's an additional 4 weeks. Now, why did we create this? First and foremost is EOP, all right? English only policy. You guys know what EOP is. All schools have EOP, but frankly, JIC also has EOP, but it is a bit difficult to manage. First and foremost, we have student managers, teachers, and coordinators who have to go around just to catch students and tell them not to speak their own language except for English only. Frankly, sometimes this is a bit irritating for student managers, for example, because some students end up running away from them or basically not even talking to them. And then, during lunches or dinners, they don't want to be seated next to the student managers. Thus, the creation of Speaking Challenge. Now, the beauty about this is the student who will come to the office and apply for it, meaning to say that they want to challenge us to catch them, right? Now, think of it. There's another reason of why we're doing this. First and foremost, think of it as for children or kids, babies, or let's say toddlers. If you punish them, they start crying, they get demotivated, and they don't want to do it again. However, if you give them, an ice cream, then they'll be more motivated and they'll want to do it again. So why did I use this as an example? Simply because in our speaking challenge, if you succeed for the first 2 weeks, we will give you a free t-shirt, like this one. So there, they get more motivation. Another thing is, of course, for example, let's say we have 2 Taiwanese, right? So we have 2 Taiwanese in a room and they're supposed to speak in English. But frankly, sometimes they feel ashamed or embarrassed to even try to speak English, because you can speak Chinese or Taiwanese to each other, so they don't have to really speak in English. However, in our Challenger or Speaking Challenge, we will give them a pin or a badge or whatever you want to call it, like this one, and that becomes their excuse. So for example, if you are a Speaking Challenger and then you are with your friend, you can say like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't speak Chinese or Taiwanese because I'm a challenger and this is my pin or my badge, all right? Now, for 4 weeks, Pro Challenger, it's the same thing. However, again, it's for 4 weeks. And if they succeed, we will give them a 500 peso voucher in which they can use in our marts or our cafe. Lastly, now let's talk about the second challenge, which is our Magic 5, like this book right here. So what happens here is we give the book to the student and the challenge is very simple. All they have to do is to write 5 sentences in 4 different classes. It could be any classes, and they can write down any sentence that they want. It could be from their books, right? Or something that they've heard or read. As long as they find it interesting or they want to use it, they just have to write it down, right? From there, they will have to read it before the end of the class and during their self-study, and at least one more time. So they're basically reading it 3 different times, but that's up to them. And then after doing so, if you're able to do this for 2 weeks, then that means, again, we will give them a 500 peso voucher in which they can use in our mart or our cafe. So why are we doing this? Why are we giving the speaking challenge and the Magic 5? This is to build a culture in JIC, meaning to say that after the 2 weeks or 4 weeks duration for speaking challenge, they will be more confident in speaking in English because they've done it again for 2 weeks or 4 weeks. And then lastly, for the Magic 5, after 2 weeks, it's already their habit to keep on writing when they hear something interesting. It doesn't necessarily mean they have to, write down 5 sentences. It could just be 1. But the main idea there is to build habit, character, in which, again, they'll speak English and they keep on studying. So guys, I know it's been a long presentation, but thank you for listening to us or listening to me. And again, this is JIC, Journey in My Career. So if you have students who wants to study English, bring them over to JIC. We will take care of them. Now remember, take the challenge and enjoy the journey.